All right, it's Friday night. We close out the week. DC is in. Dave Koken, Smoking Dave. WagerTalk.com is where you can find Dave. Dave was just chuckling at the news he just saw a couple minutes ago. So we'll get to the very weird saga of Urban Meyer and one of his hires of an assistant coach. That is already done. Dave, we're going to get a little serious because I wanted to talk more about the Drew Robinson story, Las Vegas, who we actually had on today. So I was going to play a couple of clips of that later on and get your reaction and get the audience reaction. So that's coming up, and then we'll see what else we want to get into later on. I got stuff on UFC, believe it or not. We had a good conversation with MMA expert Ariel Helwani yesterday, which Dana White sort of responded to today. So that's always interesting. So what's going on, Dave?
Gearing up for a busy weekend. The weirdest thing I'll probably tune in afterwards to watch a little bit of the Australian Open. And it's going to go from, boisterous, loud, excited crowds to nobody in the stands for at least the next 5 days or so. Because I guess they had a little bit of an outbreak, not much, like 14
Oh, really?
cases or something. Yeah, and they go right back onto a lockdown for 5 days. They don't mess around down there. And same thing in New Zealand and a few other countries who seem to be handling it better than we do. And I mentioned this afternoon on the show. The NHL has had a slew of postponements, cancellations. All of them have been in United States games. There has not been a single game postponed in Canada.
Yep. So can you blame the Canadian government for saying no thank you? You're not coming north?
No, we have not handled it well. That's not, to be honest, I don't think it's got anything to do with politicians on either side.
Wow.
I think it's basically just people who it's just the flu. Well, we might never open up if you keep on with that attitude. We need, just need to do what other countries are doing because they're doing it better.
Selfish clunks, as we've been calling them for months and months and months now. Cam's in. Howdy, gentlemen. Truth from Duluth said 13 positive tests at Melbourne Airport, so they shut down the country.
No, I don't think they shut down the country. They shut down this Victoria, that state where that's located.
Were there maskless people at the Aussie Open? That's allowed, right?
Yeah, no masks. They were just having a great time. But I guess it's all, the new cases are all from the UK. And so they didn't waste any time. They basically kicked the fans out in the middle of a match last night. You have to be, I forget what the time was, but you had to be home by like midnight or 1 a.m. or something like that. So with a half an hour before the deadline, they took a break in the match and said, get out. That's it. You got to go home. And there were, scattered boos, but everybody left. And right. 10 minutes, they were all gone, and they completed the match.
All right. How's that, Cam? Is that better? Does that sound better? I hope.
That does sound better.
Good.
I had it in my headset.
I had it on the wrong mic, so Cam on top of it. Appreciate it. There you go. Are we opening up too early, Dave? We're going to start opening up in phases here. Go to 35, 50%, get fans in arenas. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, to me, you do it the way South Korea seemed to do it really well. Watching the KBO last summer, they went from 10 to 25 to 50. Then they had another outbreak, so they cut it back down. Australia, I guess it's we'll see what happens after 5 days. They might be able to allow fans back in after a 5-day quarantine. New Zealand basically doesn't have any cases at all now. Their governments seem to have things better organized than we do, and Canada clearly does.
I wanted to get into something that got mentioned today, and we were kind of in a hurry. And I'll get the audience in on this because I'm not sure Dave knows the answer. But we had on Darren Millard, and it's not to call out Darren, but we were talking about crowds being able to get into the VGK games, hopefully if they present a plan and it's approved and maybe they can get 20% of the fans in, get nice. Like 3,500. He was saying, I hadn't read this, that eventually these decisions are going to go from a state to a local level. Have you heard that?
No.
Okay. On the stadium and arena things. Has anyone else heard that? I haven't heard that. Because then Darren followed it up with, and he's new to Vegas. He followed it up with, hey, we'll see what Mayor Goodman does. And I'm thinking like, yeah, she doesn't have any say over T-Mobile. That'll be a Clark County
right
commission, I'm guessing, decision. So do you see them blocking it? Do you see them having a reason for not allowing 3,500 in?
I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that it seems as though, and look, I'm not an expert on this, but it seems as though the countries who have adopted a national platform seem to be doing it better than we are.
Hey, Willie, if you're near a camera, or if you can be in a little bit, jump in. I'll send an invite. Yeah, Jim Gem is saying that's what was said last night via Sisolak. So if T-Mobile is controlled, if T-Mobile and Thomas and Mack, and I'm trying to think of all the other places that are going to have tournaments, and the Orleans, if that's all controlled by Clark County or whatever, Clark County Unincorporated, what does happen downtown with large gatherings? Do you worry downtown that she's just going to go fucking ballistic? And it'll be, the rest of the area is like, all right, we're going to limit it to 25%. And then Mayor Goodman's like, we're going 75%. Let's go.
Well, all I know is this. If it's going to be decided by the states, then each state has to have their own state rules, which are throughout the state. So the governor of each state should be in charge if it's going to be at the state level.
Why is that?
Well, because you need one person in charge.
Yeah.
Somebody has to call the shots.
It would seem like leaving it to local level is asking.
I don't know about that. That's yeah. Because then you're going to have, it's just going to be a complete mess. You'll have one county, anything goes. The next county next door, no. And that's a good comment right there.
Sports guy says we're going to get crushed when the clubs and pools open. Vegas is going to be a madhouse
this summer. Yeah. I mean, it's good on the one hand. We need the visitors.
Yeah.
We need them badly, but they're going to have to enforce whatever rules there are. They're going to enforce them. It's that simple.
Will they?
No.
That's the problem.
I don't know if they can, and that's the thing. I don't know if they really can. But I mean, it's just. I refer to the KBO because I watched a lot of KBO. Everybody, when the fans were there, they all wore masks, all of them, 100%. I don't know why we can't do that here. Okay, if the ebb and flow is positive right now, if we've gotten through another period, maybe let fans start going to games again, but you gotta wear. If the rule says you gotta wear the mask, you gotta wear the mask.
But I had the vaccine.
You don't, you get thrown out. That's it.
But Dave, I had the vaccine. I'm not wearing a mask. That's part of why this is problematic. Opening it up to fans when we haven't completed widespread vaccinations is going to open up another can of worms.
Well, and besides which, once you're vaccinated, you still have to wear the mask. You can still pass the disease. You just won't get it yourself.
Dave, but you know how people have been through this.
I know.
It is. I'm good. I don't need a mask.
Yeah. We're showing, I'm sorry to say this, but we are showing a lot of things that have happened in this country over the past 10, 15, 20 years are absolutely in correlation with our diminishing standards as far as education goes internationally. It's that simple. We are a dumber country than we used to be. Relative to the rest of the world, we used to be number one. We were number one in the world. We're like number 35 now. That's not good.
And it shows.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, Ray says, I'm vaccinated. I'm wearing 2 masks.
Actually, there's disagreement in the scientific community. There's no basically no disagreement as far as one mask is concerned. There is disagreement on 2 masks, where a good portion of the scientific community thinks that actually isn't a good idea.
Why?
I can't. I'm a layman. I can't really explain it, but I read it, and they explained it. I'm constantly looking at like New England Journal of Medicine and a couple of other sites that I have regard for and trying to understand what they're saying. Some of it's over my head. I'm not my dad. He would have gotten it. I don't.
Yeah.
So I call my cousin. She's a doctor.
Sources. It's good to have sources.
Yeah. But there you go, Brady. There is that one. That's, I can't explain it, but it evidently, it's not good for the person wearing the masks. 2 masks can be not real good.
I feel like this is a bad
That's
idea.
wrong. That's wrong on KC Chief.
I
They've
think that's,
clearly explained this.
Yep.
Okay, you can think whatever you want. You're not a doctor, so shut up. The doctors are saying, scientific community is saying you need to still wear a mask after you've been vaccinated because you can still carry the disease even if you don't get it yourself. Now, again, I don't know how that works. I'm not a doctor, but that's what they say. And I have a tendency to believe the scientists.
yeah, I think they have to require a mask until, they get past the point where they can say no mask at all. It's either all mask or no mask, because
Yeah,
the people who aren't wearing masks if they're vaccinated, the people who are wearing masks are going to get pissed off. They're going to wonder why they're not wearing a mask. They're going to go at them. It's just like there's already enough anarchy to control. You don't need that crap.
No, I think the figure's like 70% or something like that. At that point, maybe the mask mandates can be relaxed. But I'm going to keep wearing mine. I don't want to give it to anybody.
Yeah, double masking won't decrease spread. Spread is primarily coming from unmasked family get-together. Sorry.
It could very well be that this is going to be going on for a long time, by the way, because we keep on getting new strains. So, they've been wearing masks in Asia for quite some time. We might have to start doing that here too. Sucks, but hey,
Yep.
Not the worst thing in the world. I mean, I keep one in my car. I keep a couple at home, wash them every week. So I've always got a clean one. It's just not that big a deal.
Dave, we were asking everyone I don't know, a month ago, how many colds have you had this whole time? How many times have you been sick?
The last time I got sick was in 1989. Sick.
Oh, that's right.
And I got food poisoning.
But you never get colds? You never get the flu?
No.
Wow. Well, I do at least once or twice a year. I have not been sick the entire time. So, and I'm assuming that's because of, limited, and I have more exposure than most people because I'm out doing these shows at casinos, but limited exposure to people and also washing my hands more and, not shaking hands.
I think it's probably, again, I have this is going to sound stupid, but I think part of it is where I grew up and the fact that, we were outside all the time in freezing cold weather, playing sports. And I don't know, maybe you just get conditioned to it and you move out here where it's nice, like 350 days out of 365. Maybe you build up a tolerance growing up in that kind of environment.
All right. Well, I'm glad Willie jumped in because Willie, we have a lot of questions about the venue stuff, and I'm sure you know a little bit more about it. Number one, that convo we were having earlier, I was mentioning Darren Millard was on, and we were talking about it going from the state to the local level, and then he mentioned Carolyn Goodman with T-Mobile and VGA, and it's Clark County that'll decide that after Sisolak loses the ability to make these decisions. It'll be a local decision, right? It'll be Clark County that will decide on the 10% or whatever it is, 25% or 3,500.
Yeah, so I just scrolled down my timeline because I had quoted the tweet or the graphic. It says May 1st transition to local authority for public gatherings and events, libraries, museum, art galleries, aquarium. So basically all the stuff that they're opening where they're showing the 35% capacity on February 15th, the 50% capacity on March 15th. Come May 1st, the transition will go to local authority in determination of how many.
By the way, have you guys seen that? Oh, there you go. I was just going to say what Brady just posted. The regular flu outbreak this year is like the lowest it's ever, lowest on record, which has to do with the masks.
All right, so let's start playing the guessing game at some other. Hey Willie, let's start playing the guessing game at some of the other events that are coming up because you cover all this stuff. You know, I see you out there. You're going to be at all of them. What do you think is going to happen with is opening things up? It's going to sound weird, a good or bad thing. Opening up to fans, a good or bad thing for the decisions that'll be made by the conference tournaments that come to Vegas.
Fan wise.
I'm talking about the decision by the conferences to go, we're going to Vegas to do our tournament. And like there's been whispers about the Mountain West Conference tournament saying we're not going to bring all the teams, which I think is outrageous. I wonder if they're going to make money and that's what they want to do. But for the safety of their teams and especially their NCAA candidates, I wonder what they do now.
I think that if, depending on as far as opening it up to fans, if they're going to apply what Sislak's doing, or if they're going to keep it and say, hey, that number's too low, but we're going to bring it there. If they bring it here with no fans, I don't think there's going to be a problem because you're telling teams, it's not like it's the Golden Knights and the Raiders. And I know I agree with you in some respect when you're on in the afternoons, and you've said this many a times. How does this look for Vegas with UNLV shut down and the Raiders and then the Golden Knights? What's it look like for Vegas? But in reality, those teams are here. When you tell Washington State, USC, UCLA, hey, we're going to Vegas, and as long as we're remain in the tournament, you have to stay inside this bubble, and they create the bubble within a secluded. I don't think that's going to be a problem. You start opening up to fans, or if they're here and they're breaking rules, but these are college kids, and I don't think that they're going to break the rules. So I don't know if that's the bad idea in terms of bringing the college tournaments.
That's a great comment from Brady, and I'll take it one step further. If I'm Gonzaga, you know what? We're going to skip the tournament.
But he said,
what's the point? What was the point of them coming here?
Right, he did because they don't need to play because they're going to get in anyway. But right. That's in front of fans, and I agree with that. If they're going to make a bubble, create a bubble, and somehow keep everything out and make sure it's secure and testing and so on and so forth, then you consider it. But fans, teams that can get to the dance, it makes no sense.
If I'm Mark Few, I'd say, we'll forfeit our game in the conference tournament. We don't care. We're going.
Didn't something come out today that I see on Twitter? I wasn't on that much today. I was doing some running around. Didn't I read somewhere where they're going to leave it up to the conferences themselves to decide the automatic bid from regular season champ or something to that effect? I thought I saw that tweet.
Yeah, it'll probably be very disjointed. Some conferences will.
Really? That's what they're going to do?
Something if they don't elect to get something. I thought, and you know what? Wow. I was, like I said, I was busy doing non-media stuff today. And I thought I saw that on Twitter, just scrolling through, and didn't really have time to Google or look it up or click a link. Or
you guys also noticed that they pushed back the first day of the NCAA tournament, like the first day, of the real part of the tournament, not the playing nonsense. That they pushed it back by one day. I hadn't seen anyone explain that. The weekend pods now are Friday, Sunday, Saturday, Monday. No more Thursday through Sunday. So I don't know if that's
I did not know that
testing or whatever. But
wait, say that. So what are the days again?
So now you're gonna have the play-ins early in the week, but instead of starting up on Thursday, going Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's gonna start on the Friday, and then the play will continue all the way on. There'll be Monday games, week 1 and week 2.
Cool.
Interesting.
Good.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see what the difference, why they decided from the Thursday to the Monday.
What I'm expecting is, what are they going to do when some team shows up in Indianapolis and gets a positive? It's going to happen.
Yep.
Okay, there's going to be 68 teams in one location, so you can't postpone the NCAA tournament. What do you do?
Don't you think that they would need to? So in reality, during regular March Madness, and I'm not sure if they've already planned for this. I haven't looked at the schedules, but normally, so the final, there's like 4 or 5 conference championships that finish out that Sunday, and then there's 4 days or 3 days off. Wouldn't maybe this year they know that they got to finish it sooner, get into the bubble to continue to have tests, just like they did NHL, NBA bubble. Once you get in there, now you have to pass tests before you even begin competition.
Yeah, that would probably make sense. But as of now, as far as I know, they've still got those 4 Sunday games, and then they'll have the big announcement, and we'll find out who gets snubbed and the usual bullshit.
Yeah, and I don't think that 72 hours is enough. The Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, especially if you played on that Sunday. I don't think that's enough days in a row. Even though that's been with us going out to Raiders, you got to test X amount of days in a row, so on and so forth. But
it's not even 4 days. It's 1, because they do the selections on Sunday, and the playing round starts on Tuesday.
Play on Tuesday, yeah.
Well, they pushed back the playing round too.
Okay,
So it's they didn't push it back a week, but they pushed it back a couple of days.
Okay.
Mm.
I don't know. I just hope they have it because I can sell picks.
Yes,
Selfish.
exactly.
It's good for all of us, and it's one of the most it's one of the most enjoyable events of the year.
Yeah, it is. The NCAA tournament is absolutely fantastic. The coverage is great, and we didn't get it this past year, and a lot of us missed it. And that's not from a business standpoint; that's from a fan standpoint. I mean, I love the NCAA tournament. It's tremendous.
Will they have more alternates beyond the first 4?
Well, there's not going to be any. I guess the CBI wants to have their tournament. The CIT has already announced they're not going to. I don't know what the situation with the NIT is. I don't know what you do. It's a good question, Marcus, or a good comment. But if they're going to have to, there's just no way to make up games. So if a team gets a positive test, or they have to play without whoever, but if they get multiples, they're just going to have to forfeit, I guess.
I can think of some teams that'll make it and then have to forfeit. So just their luck. Just a rough break.
The Anaheim coach, it was interesting to hear what he had to say after that first game was played, Dallas Eakins, where he had said that it would be nice to be the very last team in the NHL or get through the whole thing and say we were the team. He says we're doing everything, but it's inevitable. We're just doing everything that we can, and something comes up like it did with Vegas to avoid it until it happens. He goes, because we're not sitting there acting like it's not going to happen to every team. It's almost like they're already expecting it, but they're doing everything to make sure it doesn't.
And again, I'm going to bring this up. There's 8 teams in each division. The 8 Canadian teams have not had a single cancellation.
Yep. They shut that border down for a reason. That's why the Raptors are in Tampa.
Oh. And by the way, welcome to Buffalo once again for the Blue Jays. Because I don't think Toronto's going to. They're not going to let these teams come in.
No.
And I don't blame them.
So, Willie, give us your take on what happened with VGK. So, no shake positive test. The only way we found out initially was because Dallas Eakins leaked it. He made a mistake of leaking it. But what do you think of them continuing to play the game, not telling the Ducks, even though they got the positive test back in the third period?
I'm baffled by it only because I was at Orleans Arena when they shut the Henderson Silver Knights game down. And I don't think that there's any difference. These are human beings. They're professional athletes, whether they're in the AHL, the NHL, the NBA, the G League, you name it. These are athletes that are all, and we're abiding by the government, right? By CDC. We're taking the advisories from our health districts. So I don't care who you are. If they stop the hockey game that involves guys that have played in the NHL for 5 minutes, had a cup of coffee in the NHL, or whatever the case is, they're professional athletes. They shut that game down, whether it was an exhibition or not. They shut it down because of a positive test. So how they continue to go on when you are, especially the Golden Knights, you're sitting on a bench. It's one thing in basketball, right? They have the seats separated. Hockey, you're on that bench. How many times have you seen, all you in the comment room, how many times have you seen the camera come in during a face-off, just before the face-off, and they zoom in, and the guy, Marchessault, Reeves, or whoever you're watching, and they spit on the ice. You don't think they're spitting on that bench and sweating on that bench and knocking each other when they come flying in so they can make shifts, and they sit down, they rub up against each other, sweat coming through the fabric. So, I personally, I said this once it was confirmed the next day, and then the list came out, and we knew. I mean, that was the reason why, because the Golden Knights were kicking the ever living shit out of them. They were outplaying them end to end, and they came out and looked like a different team for the first 10 minutes. You don't think that was in their head, that they sat there and they watched Thomas Nosek get pulled from the locker room because of a positive test, and they'd already been shut down. So what's going through their minds? I've been on the bench all night with them. Reeves, Pacioretty, Fleury, people that got to go home to their kids and their wives. Nosek's got a wife who's due any day now. You don't think that was on their mind? I mean, not to change to what they should have done or not, but that's definitely what the hell was in their head for the first 10 minutes of third period, and let Anaheim score to tie it. I'm convinced of that. They just weren't mentally in the game. Their mind was elsewhere, seeing all that, and it had already been shut down, so they know what's going on, So, yeah, I don't know and I can't sit here and say this is what they should have done. I'm not a doctor and I'm not a commissioner of a fucking league, but I know what I see. I'm seeing it at one game, like I said, an AHL game, which is one step away. They stopped it. So, right. I don't know what their bylaws are, but it was it was. When they said that, I'm sitting in the Ducks Zoom, and Doug Marsh over the PA, the press box PA, said there'll be no Golden Knights press conference because of NHL protocols. And then I said it into the Zoom. We were waiting for the next person, and I unmuted myself and all the Anaheim media, and I told them, I said, hey, here's the deal.
You said something.
They should have stopped the game because of those helmets.
You don't like the gold helmets?
Horrible. No, look, I tweeted it. Looks like something out of a bad science fiction film.
I thought
horrible.
Those are action figures.
I thought they were ghastly.
I wasn't a fan.
No, I like the alternate uniforms. I thought the tribute to the Thunder uniforms were fantastic. Really looked good, but those helmets. Eesh.
Notre Dame on ice. No dice, huh?
Football helmets can be shiny. Hockey helmets.
But no, Notre Dame's is. I think their hockey helmets are always gold. Where Notre Dame's football, they're not always that shiny, are they? Are they always that shiny? I'm trying to remember.
I thought it was a regular thing now that they shine it up now.
Yeah, I think they are.
Like Willie, you said something like 2 minutes ago that caught my attention. Leonard has a kid on the way. When? What's going on with Robin Leonard?
No, it's
not Leonard. The guy who tested positive.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I was just saying, all these other people that had to go home to their families.
Yeah.
And you're in the locker room in tight confinement. And who sits next to Nosek in the locker room when they're doing the meeting? You know what I mean?
Doesn't matter. I mean,
in a sense, I'm saying, who's sitting there and they're on each side, and then they're having to go out there and think about that. Their mind's not on the game.
As it is, they've already made one change in the NHL, which is to remove the glass from behind the benches.
Yeah, and then the penalty box, they added that.
Right.
Yep. That was in the new
they're trying, yesterday. But it's just, it's just not going real well here.
Here's what I want to know. And we were seeing this, right? We saw it in baseball, we saw it in the NBA, but it's rampant in the who the fuck is going out there and getting it and bringing back to these players, wherever it's at? New Jersey. Didn't they have like 17 people at some point?
Yep.
Who's going out and bringing it in? Why? I get it. It's good to have these strict protocols and these rules, but isn't a lot of these things that we're seeing 3 phases in common fucking sense? If you're making if you're making $1 million a year for playing hockey, fuck, suck it up for 6 months, man. And if you got family, that's just the way it goes. We live the life that we live, but we're gonna have to follow these rules for X amount of time.
We don't like. No, you don't understand. It's against your freedoms to follow rules.
Yeah.
They didn't have a single case in the bubble in the playoffs. Not one.
Not trying to be an asshole, not trying to be an asshole, not trying to be like a racial guy with the NHL, but why is the most white league having the most trouble?
I don't know.
I think it's got. I don't think it's got anything to do with race. I think it's got everything to do with geography.
Yeah, I just think that I think as Americans as a whole, we're all fucking entitled.
So sorry, this is a topic from during the week. We were talking about nacho tables. Too many nacho tables. What about the locker rooms? In general, hockey locker rooms are just a pigsty.
Well, in the NHL level, there's two. So there's the where we would go in and interview post game, but then I believe there's one in the back, and they have stalls back there as well. I'm sure between periods they're going to the ones that we go and interview the guys at. But I believe that they have a whole other, because they'll come out to do their interview, but there have been times where we'll wait around, we'll skip the coaches, whoever, if you request something, you just want a one-on-one, and they'll come out suited up. So I'm sure that they have a duplicate in the back. I'm guessing the one in the back, I'm guessing they're both nasty. Because the first one's where they come in and they do their meeting for the 20 minutes, right? And then the next one's in the back with the showers and so on and so forth. So,
well, they better get it under control, or as I and Adam discussed yesterday, our Thursday show, and I think we mentioned it on here. I know the NHL is worried about a PR issue, but if the NHL just said, fuck it, you know what? Everyone's getting vaccinated. We'll deal with a bad PR for like 3 days. After that, and anyone giving us attention is probably a good thing. Dave, why can't they just jump the line and just go, you know what? This is for the economy. This is for the fans. Let's just do it. We'll take the hit. You know what? Screw off. We don't trust the vaccine distribution. We're done waiting. We're getting the vaccine.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, but because you're a hockey player or an athlete, you're not an essential worker. You're just not. You don't get to jump the line in front of, I don't know, Joe the factory worker. He's got as much right to the vaccine as anybody who's playing sports.
Do you think Joe the factory worker in mass would actually be upset at the NHL? Like, is their audience would the NHL?
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. Because fans hate the players anyway because they make too much money. That's what the fans always say.
Hockey fans hate the players?
Fans in every sport think the players in their sport make too much money. Every sport. Basketball players, fans think the NBA players make too many sports and control the league. Football players, they make too much money. Baseball players, they make way too much money. It's all based on revenue. They all get basically the same percentage. So they don't make too much money. But I tell you, I would object to professional athletes being able to jump the line ahead of everyday people. I mean, what gives them? Why are they privileged? Because they play a sport? Geez, they're already privileged to a certain extent. You get to play a sport for a living. Pretty good. It's a lot of fun. Perks are amazing. No, I'm sorry. They're not essential workers. They're just not.
Here's a quote from Peter DeBoer. Peter DeBoer asked if he was in favor of athletes getting priority for vaccinations over the public. And he said, I have 80-year-old parents who haven't had it yet, so I'd have a hard time watching a young, healthy pro athlete get it before somebody like that.
Absolutely. 100% agree. I think most of the athletes themselves would say the same thing. Hey, wait a minute. I'm in good shape. My grandfather's 80. My dad's 65. Let him get the shot for it because they're no different from us in that respect. They're probably going to care about their aunts and uncles and parents more than themselves. They want them to be safe. I think the players would absolutely balk at it and say, "I'll take my chances. Go take care of my mom and dad." And I think that'd be the same in every sport.
Aaron says, my 73-year-old at-risk dad still waiting in Washington. Well, as Brady said, technically it's not jumping the line if you just go right to the vendor and buy it. If you're rich, you can just go buy it.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough.
What if the NHL said, you know what, we're getting the vaccine, and we see how difficult it is right now to get it distributed. We're going to give $2 million to that cause, but we get the vaccine before you guys. We're going to help, though. We're going to help the effort.
No, I'm
As long as they're buying it, it's not taking away from anybody. As long as there's not a shortage in there's 31, however many in the organization needed. How many? 20 to 23 active. Figure another 25 employees, so 50 per team. So that's 1,500 vaccinations. If it's not taking away and causing a shortage, and they're buying it privately and having their doctors administer it, but then they donate toward a cause or do something, it might make it okay as long as people are getting the vaccine, or maybe go to areas that are struggling, to get it and open a facility up to allow people to make it more accessible, where the shortage is, or the people that can't, whoever just quoted or commented that they're still waiting in Washington. Open facilities so people can get them, so they have the capabilities of going out and getting it done. If there's a way to do that, it might make it seem a little more better. But again, the key is that it's private, and they are not taking away from causing any shortages. And that opens up. Just remember, though, as one pro league, that's going to open things up. All of a sudden, every sports league is going to end up having to do that.
Yeah. Just I'm totally against them jumping the line, but I'm also getting really frustrated with the distribution. And if I ran a league and I had lots of money, and I really meant it about, they're going to get some bad attention, but they're going to get attention, and the NHL needs it. If I ran the league, I might just do it. So, but as a person who can't get it, yeah, I don't want them jumping in front of us, but it's getting to a point where it's fucking ridiculous with the distribution. I hope it gets better in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Should.
I mean, there's one version of the vaccine that I particularly want. And if I have to buy it, I probably will.
Yeah, this is something else we mentioned.
I want my choice. I want the Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah, you told us that. Yeah. This is the other guys, Dana White with the UFC. They're paying millions and millions of dollars for the testing. If he basically jumped the line and bought it himself, he could justify it from a financial standpoint. And does he give a shit about PR ever? Negative PR?
No. Dana doesn't care.
Like, fuck you.
Dana's no.
All PR.
Dana knows what he's doing as far as he doesn't care about PR, because he controls the sport, and that's not changing anytime soon. And he's built it into a phenomenal business.
Yeah. What do you guys think of? If we're done with this for now, what do you guys think of Gina Carano?
Oh, she got a new gig.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
It's Disney level. So flex that muscle. It's same as Disney.
Yeah. Ben Shapiro and Disney right on the same wavelength.
What do you think, Dave?
It's like this, and a lot of people saying, well, it's freedom of speech. Okay, so I'll use myself as an example. No, I'm not saying I'm at the level of Gina Carano, but I work for a company that's Wager Talk that has, 65,000 YouTube subscribers, a ton of sales. They're very visible. In my industry, they're one of the two biggest outfits, I would say. Okay. If I publicly say something that could really hurt the business, they have every right to fire me. Okay. So it's not, these people are saying, well, it's censorship. She should be able to say whatever she wants. She can say whatever she wants. But if Disney looked at it and said, you know what, we think you're bad for business at this point. Okay, well, she's out. That's the way it goes. Companies can fire whoever they want based on things they do or things they say. Now she got another job. That's fine. So she's still got her freedom of speech. And in fact, she'll be free to do whatever she wants in terms of making films with her new company. But it ain't Disney. And, that's the way it goes.
By the way, Marcus's comment, she actually raised her profile and future value while getting canceled. I don't believe she got canceled. The other thing is she's not raising her future value. She's a fucking Carano. They own Caesars.
Yeah. She's in good shape. I do find this. Now, I thought what Gina said was absolutely outrageous. Okay, it was terrible. But you know, uh, we know Gina. She's a nice girl. Okay.
Eh.
Well, I mean, in my experience with her, she was
Dave,
very nice to me.
Dave,
And
your experience with her was 15 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
She's changed.
Okay. At least at that point in time, she seemed very nice.
I agree.
She
was very nice.
I would have liked to have seen an opportunity for her to maybe do a mea culpa and say, you know, boy, I really phrased that wrong. But
She doesn't
apparently
want to.
She doesn't want
to. She tweeted out today the let the rebellion begin. She knew what she was doing. She's not fucking confused. It wasn't a mistake. She comes out today and says, "All right, let's go. They're not going to cancel us. We're going to fight." That's what she believes.
In that case, it was a pretty stupid thing to say, because equating
Political divide.
getting your politics with a massive genocide, the likes of which remains historic. That's really stupid. Okay, that's really stupid.
Willie, what do you think?
That was the last thing that Dave said. Was I've been sitting here just, let Dave finish whatever. But the last thing he said was the very first thing that I've been on the tip of my tongue. You are going to be hard pressed for the rest of our lives. I don't know about my son's life and beyond, but for the rest of our lives, I cannot see. You're going to be hard pressed to ever come up with something to compare to the Holocaust. Period. I mean, to just it's. I just can't imagine.
All I can tell you is this: this was way before I was born, but there was a branch of our family.
And honestly, I've had a really.
There was a branch of our family who, all 6 of them, died on the same day in 1937. They were in a concentration camp, and they evidently got gassed.
Horrific.
So when you're free speech, regardless of which side you're on, if it results in you being put into concentration camp and then murdered, I will be happy to stand up right alongside you and say I might not agree with you, but that's out of line. To compare anything to what took place over there in the 1930s and throughout Europe, because it wasn't just the Jews, Catholics, Gypsies, whatever. They were killing them all. Stop comparing. That's disgusting and stupid. Incredibly stupid.
Yep. Yesterday we had on Ariel Hawani, who covers MMA. He, like you, is a big fan of Gina Carano. He is Jewish. So I reached out to him. We've had conversations before about the rampant anti-Semitism issues and racist issues with some of the fighters in UFC. And Gina Carano's not an active fighter, but she comes from the world of MMA. It's a weird subculture in that community. And Ariel didn't want to blast Gina Carano because he really likes her. And he actually said a couple of times he believes she's confused. And we were like, dude, she's not confused. But this was Ariel when he really started getting worked up. And he told me a couple hours before the interview, he's like, I don't know if I can come on, man. Like, I'm having trouble dealing with this. I got to collect my thoughts.
Went through in the 30s and 40s it's absolutely disgusting. I mean, there's so many places you could go. And honestly, I've had a really hard time formulating my thoughts here because I do know Gina and I do think that she is a good person. But to make a comparison to whatever is going on in today's world, to this political climate, to being a Republican, to having a different point of view, and making a comparison to what my people, and not just my people, by the way, minorities, it wasn't just Jews who died in the Holocaust, but of course 6 million did die, what they went through, and she was pointing out that particular post, what they went through in the 30s and 40s is just, it's absolutely disgusting. I mean, these are people who were, who had to hide in gutters, who had to hide in attics, who were, separated from their families, who were put in trains and were shoved in ovens and were put in gas chambers. I went to Auschwitz in 1999. I went on a trip called the March of the Living. I sat in the gas chamber and I was able to feel with my fingers the scratch marks that were there people crawl out of a gas chamber that was killing them and their family and their brothers and their babies. And I saw with my own eyes the mountain that I think is 7 or 8 football fields long of ashes. I saw the hair that's still there. I saw the glasses that are still there, the suitcases of people thinking that they were going on a trip, the dolls that were there. And to make a comparison to being a Republican in 2021, what those people went through, I would like to believe that she made a horrible mistake, a horrible analogy, and I would also like to believe that she's just uneducated on what the Holocaust was and what actually transpired there. She feels that she's a victim right now, and she's comparing herself to another group of people who were victims a long time ago. But I have some bad news for her. Whatever she is feeling right now is nowhere near the stratosphere of what those people felt back in.
The interesting thing is that she gets hired by Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
Who, would guess is Jewish.
Yep. Yeah, he did a good job on that, Ariel. He was very very worked up, but still stayed composed, and it's pretty incredible. And Aaron saying here, white born rich people want to believe they're oppressed so much. It's a strange phenomenon, and that's why I brought up Gina Carano. I mean, listen, she was a high achiever in MMA. Her dad, great athlete, UNLV and the Dallas Cowboys. But I don't know how you're a fucking casino heiress and you're like, boy, we're being persecuted. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? We've got political differences. Not quite the same thing.
No.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's that part right there just makes it even, this is somebody who it's almost, I don't know if this is the right word, but it's almost seems like people that do that, and someone had that last comment is exactly right. I saw that. Yeah, you can't compare the Holocaust. It's almost like trivializing to compare that to anything. You're bringing it so far down. You're not making what you're comparing to the Holocaust. You're not making it seem that bad. You're bringing the level of the audacity and just horror of the Holocaust down, in my opinion, when you do that. And it's horrible. It's, and people should just know better, because that right there is exactly right. You cannot compare it to anything but that. There's nothing else.
What about what Brady said earlier? Is this a contributing factor that when you have people out there calling someone a Hitler, does that desensitize the whole thing about how bad Hitler was?
Well, it's ludicrous. And this is one where the liberal side is way out of line. They are constantly comparing Trump to Hitler.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Okay. That is utterly ridiculous.
No matter how bad you like him or dislike him or anything.
Look, I can't stand Trump, and that goes back 35 years. Okay. I know people who have done business with him. He's a grifter. Okay. He's just a bad, I think he's a really lousy human being. But he's not Adolf Hitler. Okay. He's nowhere near him. He's a grifter and a carnival barker. Hitler was a little more serious than that. So it's a stupid comparison. And when liberals do it, it's like, shut the fuck up. Okay? Stop it. And they should be called out on it, by the way, which liberals don't like to call themselves out on stuff. They just want to call the other side out. And they're just as wrong. They are absolutely just as wrong as the conservative end as far as that goes. And it's the one thing. Look, again, I am as anti-Trump as it gets. You probably won't find anybody who's more anti-Trump than I am. I would not vote to convict him if I were in the Senate, because if you do, then you better. I thought his legal team, it's whataboutism, but the fact is, there were a lot of really awful things said by many Democrats this summer, and that you just can't deny that. And did it directly lead to the violence that took place? No. Did Trump directly lead? I don't know. Legally, I don't think so. I think morally, absolutely. And I would hope that the only people left who would support him would be his cult members, who they'd do anything for him. They're ridiculous. But aside from that, I don't know. I think it's kind of a dog and pony show. I think the whole thing's ridiculous.
I just wanted to play this real quick, and I'll try to crank up the audio here for a second. But I thought this was really stupid. Dana White should have expected at least one question on this, but his true color show here, and like I either he didn't read Gina's comments, or he's in line with Gina's comments, or he's just not smart enough to realize the gravity of Gina Carano's comments. And he pulls out his old playbook. It's the media. It's always the media.
We all make mistakes, you know. For everybody to go in on her. I love how Era won.
God damn it. Of course, it cuts off right there. Here, let me pull it up. He basically said, leave Gina alone, which I think is, come on, Dana, is just ridiculous. And then he went on to say that Ariel made it all about himself. Typical. Like,
Really?
He made it about himself. Did you just listen to what we played?
No, and evidently, I mean, according to what you're saying, she basically doubled down on the comment now.
She did. She said, let's go.
In that case. See, you're entitled to me, you're entitled to a mea culpa. But you got to make the mea culpa.
Right.
And I guess not. So that I would change my opinion of her. Let's put it that way. Not that she gives a shit. And not that I was ever going to watch anything that she produces with Ben Shapiro. Or
Right.
Shapiro. I don't even know how he pronounces it.
Yeah.
Because I think he's kind of a, well, schmuck.
Nice. It's a fucking bit, you know. It works. He's making a lot of money. I think this is the whole statement. Let me see if I can cue it up because I wanted to get the part where he said she made a mistake, but we all make mistakes.
You know, listen, we make mistakes. We all make mistakes, you know. For everybody to go in on her. I love how Era Hawani made it all about him. It was all about him. Such a douche.
Yeah, he's a Jew, okay? So every Jewish person kind of takes it personally when you talk about the Holocaust and compare it to being some persecuted, you know, part of a political divide where you're slightly on the I'm not going to say the wrong side, but you may be in the minority. Cut it out. Sorry, Jewish people take it personally. They make it about themselves. Just like, come on, dude. Jesus.
That's a stupid thing to say.
Yeah. Sorry. Start screaming at you. Oh, get out of here.
And Dana should never be pissed off at the media because the media, well, Dana's done a great job building UFC. He hasn't gotten hurt by the media over the years. They've given him a lot of attention. And he's put a great product out there. But the media has been a big plus for Dana over the years.
That's for sure.
Well, but he's bought into the fake news thing and fuck the media and so whatever.
Oh, I know.
Let me ask you guys a question. Through 2020 and the election year, and do you ever find yourself reminding people when they throw out the blanket statement? I see it on Instagram stories all the time. The fake media, or excuse me, not the fake media, because if that's usually with the video, so they're sort of indicting that form of media. But when they just say the phrase "fuck the media's ruined things," or "media is this, media is this," I find myself commenting on people's Instagram stories when they say that, like, "Well, I'm a member of the media, so I guess fuck me," right?
Well,
And then and no, they don't mean sports media, but I have to tell them that they're generalizing. Because if it's not directly related to a news clip or a story, they're just saying "fuck the media."
well, it's a fair generalization, though, from this standpoint. Let's call it straight. I mean, you've got the three major news networks. You have two that are absolutely rooting sections for the left, and one that is an absolute rooting section for the right. And they're representative of the media. I mean, MSNBC, CNN, and Fox have zero objectivity, none. You know what side they're going to come out of on every single argument. And unfortunately, they have done more damage. There is nobody who has done more damage to mainstream media than those three cable news networks. They are been an absolute train wreck for legitimacy in the media. Most of the media is reporters who go out there and journalists who go out there and do a job and do it really well, but they don't get any attention because CNN, MSNBC, and Fox get almost all the attention. And they stopped being objective. Look, Walter Cronkite called it many, many years ago. He got it right. He said the downfall. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but the downfall of journalism in this country is the fact that it is going to be tied directly to the fact that the networks are now running news departments for profit, which they never did back then. They accepted the fact they were going to lose money in the news department. CBS was going to lose money. ABC was going to lose money. NBC was going to lose money. And what they got was objective reporting. It was great. Then they decided that, well, we want to make money out of this. And at that point, they stopped being objective and started pandering to an audience. And they've made a lot of money.
Yep.
And in the process, they have, quite frankly, destroyed legitimate journalism at many levels. It's absolutely awful.
So it's a double-edged sword. I'm going to tie it to sports radio. I feel like, Dave, when you and I were doing sports radio early on, you back to the early 90s, late 80s, and me in the mid 90s, I always remember people are like, oh, this is the worst. It's low-hanging fruit. You got morons just arguing with each other. They're so stupid. There's no nuance. What do we do in news now? They stole our formula, except that our formula really doesn't have a real impact on anything legit. It's not dangerous. I think it's turned into a spot where a lot of racism can be spread, and there's hidden messages in what some sports radio people do. But that whole embrace debate thing was ours, and now people do it, but it's at this incredibly dangerous level. So sorry, rest of the world. We didn't expect
at
by
least
news programs and be irresponsible with it.
At least on the sports networks, they actually are having debates. I mean, it might be scripted where, okay, Stephen A., you're on this side, and whoever's on with him, you're on the other side. I don't know. I don't watch the shows. The problem is on the news networks, there is no debate. You have to line up on the left or right side of the aisle, or you don't get on.
Yeah.
I mean, Bill Maher has more conservatives on than MSNBC does. He does, really.
Yeah.
Which is absurd because it's not a news show. His isn't a news show. His show is more balanced than any of the three networks. And his is an entertainment show on HBO, a comedy entertainment show. Highly politicized, and we know where Maher stands on most issues, but it's not being portrayed as news. It's just entertainment, which is a completely different story. And that's my objection to MSNBC, Fox, and CNN. They're portraying themselves as news outlets. They're not. They're not news outlets. They are just glorified cheering sections, and they all suck.
Willie, to go back to your original comment, Stephen Lambert here says bad is bad, good is good. There's bad media, there's good media, like all things. When I see that fuck the media or fake news, when it's thrown out as a blanket, it bothers me too. So, and that's well documented here on the video podcast. I mention it all the time, and I've told the story. One of my girlfriend's friends was over, and she started down the fake media path, and I walked inside of my girlfriend. I'm like, she's got to go, man. She's out. Like, I fucking work in the media.
Really?
Oh yeah. Well, because
I didn't hear that story.
Oh, the constant derision of the media and kind of rolling us all into one thing. It's not interested in it. Like you better put two and two together, fuckheads. You're over the house. There's a pool. This is not some luxurious place, but I have a couple of things here that we've purchased and that we enjoy. Yeah. You're enjoying it. How do you think that's paid for, asshole?
Yeah.
Fuck the media. Fuck you. Get out.
Yeah.
So I don't disagree with that stance.
Sorry, my Tony Soprano kicked in. Go fuck yourself. Sorry, I do that way too often, but it really, like you, when I see it up on social media, I'm like, I'm not going to fucking answer, but I'm just,
I won't do it on Twitter.
Don't do it on Twitter. Yeah.
I won't do it on Twitter because especially if I don't know the person, I'm not going to sit there. I don't have time. I don't have time to get my mental game out of focus and get in a debate with somebody. But if it's somebody like on Instagram, I know everybody because I only follow who follows me. I have, what I'm saying? It's very, people I follow, they follow me. I know them. So and I'll say it sarcastically to kind of remind them, hey, I'm a member of the media, motherfucker. You know.
Well, I'm not anymore, so now I can really go at say
No,
whatever I
but
want.
what Dave said is right. I see the division. It's just you're just fanning the flames. This is bullshit TV, but people are programmed by it. MSNBC is intolerable. I don't want to watch that shit.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's dumb. Just give us the news, and if you got a couple of opinion shows, that's fine. I can choose to do that. But there's almost no straight news, and it's almost all Skip and Shannon debate shows on news.
Right. Yeah, I have no problem if you want to have a few hours in the evening where Rachel Maddow is on one and I don't know, Tucker Carlson's on another, and Cuomo is on the other, and that's fine. They're opinion shows. But during the day, how about just give us some straight news?
So
They
many
don't
times-
do it. They never
so
do
many
it.
times I turn on either one of those channels and I'm like, okay, let's see how they're covering the story. They're not even on it. Like, well, there's something big going on. Cover it. What's happening here? Let's break in to get a little sports in here, and I do want to get to that Chris Doyle, Urban Meyer story. To me, that's crazy with the Jaguars. But you guys thinking about anything on the college basketball card tomorrow?
I bet Missouri.
Why?
They were off their worst game of the year. They're at home. I think they'll play well. And Arkansas is coming off a really thrilling game with Kentucky. I mean, it was a great game. They almost blew the game, but they won at 81-80 at Kentucky. And I like bounces. I think Missouri comes up with a good performance. And they did match up well with Arkansas the first time they played them. So I think they can do so again tomorrow. I think that's a good bet. I think it's -2 or 2.5. I got it at 1.5, but that's gone.
I looked at West Virginia, laying the low chop to
That's
Oklahoma. It's hard to, it's hard to go again. A low number at home, press Virginia. I'm a Bobby Huggins guy, so and if I'm not mistaken, they're in revenge for that. Or no, did they get them earlier this year?
I don't remember. It's not in front of me. I don't like laying. I will tell you this though. I don't like laying points to LK. He's always got a game plan.
So they lost in Norman 75-71. They've won 3 in a row. And whenever I see West Virginia, given it's usually about the defense, but their last 3 games, 76, 91, 82 points, 2 of them on the road. I just think that this is a good spot for them.
They've gotten better since the big kid left the program. They've gotten better. I'm forgetting it. I'm blanking on his name like I usually do. I'm bad with names, but that looks like one of those things that that benefited the program. You got a kid who's unhappy. Get him out of there. Drake and Loyola tomorrow. Drake's missing one of their key components, so he got hurt. And we often see teams come up with huge efforts in the first game after losing one of their stars. So we'll see what happens. Although I think Drake, maybe Loyola's better than Drake. By the way, what's her name? The nun. She's on
Sister Jean.
Yeah. She's on this morning on Game Day on ESPN.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What is she? She's got to be 100 now, right?
Yeah, I think she is. Adam Hill will be livid. He's very anti-Sister Jean. He's anti-everything.
Really?
That's like one of his dopey bits.
I'm a fan.
Adam's anti feel-good story.
Sure. Brady, what'd you get? Brady said he was 5-1. All right. UNLV 10 against Boise tomorrow. Any thoughts?
I think it's a good number. I think Boise's in a spot where they really need to bounce back from last week in Reno, and they were really bad in the second game, which, by the way, cracked me up because the 2 announcers, we're seeing some high-level basketball. They actually, one of them said, we're seeing some high-level basketball here. Both teams were awful. It wasn't high-level basketball. If anything, it exposed Boise for being overrated, and Nevada was okay. They were a little better than Boise, but there were portions of that game that were unwatchable. Boise needs to bounce back, but boy, that's a lot of points to lay. And it looks like Bryce is okay now. And Rebels can compete when Hamilton's playing well. And it looks like the ankle injury is done now because he looked good last weekend.
I try not to get on the CBS broadcasters, and I know this is kind of weak to defend broadcasters because they should be prepared. but they're not at the games. They're not talking
I know.
to the coaches and players. And I feel like Tom McCarthy, who was doing the game, who's a really good broadcaster, and he does NFL football. He's good, but I just feel like they're covering because they're like, fuck, I don't know what to say. I don't know these teams. I don't know these players. So now I'm just going to go over the top and just, get all fired up about the game. Like, the game was not that good. I will tell you one thing, and this is one of the eyesores for this team. TJ Otzelberger decided to go small, right? So he's got Jalen Martinez, who's in, but he clearly doesn't feel like he can play, I'm sure, especially on defense. So he's got one big and Mbake Jong. Eduardo Del Cadia is a guy you can't miss on that guy. Like, that spot, if that was going to be your big spot, your 6'6", 6'7", stretch 4, he's got to be good. And I watch the games and I'm like, he's not fucking playing. And it's such a glaring hole behind Moses Wood. I don't think they can make up for it. And obviously they get a bad break with Marvin Coleman, and Yap's a little bit younger, so he's not ready. I'll say at times I'm disappointed when I look out there. I'm like, they're short on talent. And
Well, the Coleman injury was
it killed him.
It was significant.
It killed him. But when you're going to retool the program and 3 of the guys you bring in are going to be projects and probably not going to play this year, like the JUCO you bring in, this, Willie, the JUCO you bring in has got to be good.
Yeah.
And then the weird thing is I feel like at the end of the year they're just going to tell Edo Del Cadia, like, man, sorry, get out, because they haven't had a problem doing that in the past. They when they first came in, there was Trey Woodbury, get the hell out. Trey's averaging 15 a game at Utah Valley. Ben Coupette, get out. He's averaging like 15 a game at Little Rock. Yep. So, and I hope they don't get the reputation like, hey, you go there, if you don't work out in a year, they may tell you to hit the bricks. So I don't know. It's been weird. It's been a weird season. If Bryce is healthy and they they have the full tournament, I think they can do some damage, but they clearly have to shoot the 3 ball. And the reason I brought up Edo, that was one of the first games I felt like watching the Rebels of the season that they were really weak inside on defense and rebounding. Because for that, whatever his name was, Malouche, whatever, the big guy for Boise to dominate as much as he was, like especially on like garbage ball, just loose balls off the rim, that was disappointing. So. We'll see what happens. Did you guys see that Tyler Shug, however you say his name, the Oregon quarterback, is transferring?
Yep. Yeah, he was probably going to be number 3.
Yeah, they've got some big guys coming in, or big recruits
got
coming
some studs coming in.
the program.
So he can go someplace else and be number 1. Decent quarterback. I don't think he's anything more than a college quarterback. I don't look at him as an NFL guy at all.
Can we dare to dream, Willie? Is there any chance?
Oh, I don't know.
Oregon quarterback, drop down a level, go and hang with Marcus Arroyo.
Marcus.
Yeah.
You know what?
Why not?
I'm glad. I'd be glad to entertain that talk if we can get off the whole Tate to UNLV talk. Not us, but just the general conversation. I don't know if that's still a thing with it kind of just dies on the vine, right?
Exactly.
These topics that come up, they happen for about 48 hours and then we stop talking about it. But that would be interesting. Real quick, let me just throw this in real quick. Let me just throw this in before we get too far away from the UNLV basketball. Yep. If I'm not mistaken, I just breezed through here. UNLV's lost 3 of 5 in the second of back-to-backs. BYU's 4-1, if I'm reading this correctly.
Boise.
What did I say?
BYU.
Boise's 4-1 in the second of their back-to-backs. Now, as far as spreads, I didn't look and see how big they're winning, but the comfortability there, and if that means something, I don't know.
Worry about the first one first.
Yeah.
The problem with Shuck is, he's got the Arroyo connection, but he might look at Wyoming, which has an opening for a quarterback because Chambers can't stay on the field, and they've got a coach who put a quarterback in the NFL. I mean, things haven't panned out recently for Carson Wentz, but he came out of Bowles' program.
Dave, he's not going to want to go play for Adazio.
And wait a minute. He also, Bowl also had another quarterback who's done rather well in the NFL with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is a QB destination right now for a guy who wants to, and they need a quarterback badly. So it'd be interesting to see if Wyoming gets somebody.
Yeah, I actually think he's going to be a Power 5 transfer, so I don't think he's going to drop down. I think he'll have enough interest. There's so many Power 5 schools that are desperate for a quarterback. I don't think they have any connections, but I would love Rutgers to freaking make a run at him. So That'd be cool. Be great to see. Yeah, he's like, I'll go to UNLV over Rutgers.
Probably not.
We'll see. I don't know. I don't know what his connections are. So
UNLV didn't do themselves any favors this year. Okay, it would have been nice if they won something.
go ahead, Willie. Light the flame.
It would have just been nice to see some kind of continuity. It would have just been nice to see some common sense.
Yeah.
It would have been
Win a
nice to
game.
hear.
Win a game.
It would have just been nice to hear what was going on and
About
to
the
make.
program.
Yes, it's instead of just fucking limiting it us to 14.2 minutes per week because got things to do. He's busy, but whatever.
Yeah, and that's a worry already for me. And look, I'm not in this anymore, so it's not going to frustrate me. But we've been through some coaches who had good relationships with the media, and we've been through a few who didn't. And this is a program where you need to have a good relationship with the media because they can help you tremendously in this town. UNLV needs all the help they can get on the football side. And, you go back to John Robinson, actually made it to a bowl under J-Rob, and he was phenomenal with the media.
Go back to Jeff Horton before J-Rob. Jeff Horton had a good relationship with the media. J-Rob had a good,
But then in came Weaver as the AD, and that wasn't good. And I liked him okay, but Hamrick wasn't good at all with the media. And the AD, but I think she's got to be more visible. I want her to get out there, be like Livengood. Livengood was everywhere. Okay, you wanted basically you could pick up the phone at any time. Jim, can you come out for 10 minutes? Yeah. And he'd do all the interviews. And
isn't Desiree? She's not accessible. I don't know.
I'm not in the game anymore, so I don't know.
Yeah, no. See, doesn't she? I think she's kind of out. She's known. I think she's out there. She does radio. I don't know if she does your show. I know she's on with Tyler and Ed. At times, but I thought she was more. I think she's more. The face out there, and I think she enjoys that public relations part of it.
All I know is this, and it should be the most important thing in getting a coach to me is, and I'm not saying you're going to get Lon Kruger in terms of his skill set as a coach, but Lon Kruger could have just sat back and taken the money and, played golf or whatever. Lon was so involved, and so was his wife, Barb. They were so involved in the community.
Yep.
That's what a coach is supposed to be. And Lon Kruger, of all the coaches we've had over the past, since Tark, he was the most involved. And he's the one who had the least motivation to be involved. He didn't need to because Lon was already a big name before he got here. To me, that should be the role model for everybody you hire as a coach here is I want you to be like Lon Kruger was in this community. Lon is still tremendously respected in this community. Kevin's here now, and Kevin's a chip off the old block. And how good was that? We actually had a rebirth of UNLV fever when Lon was here, and that wasn't just because they won games. It was because of Lon Kruger and the way the family embraced Las Vegas.
And the way that Las Vegas embraced, we haven't seen that. We hadn't seen that.
Well, it's a two-way street because from day one, Lon was tremendous, absolutely tremendous.
Yeah, he ignited that. He absolutely right.
We had a good comment to post the video over the weekend. We had a really good conversation the other day that we had on the air with Justin Hawkins and Curtis Terry. Were on with me, and those guys were kind of in back-to-back eras.
Yep.
And I was looking back. I was like, I was kind of looking back on Justin's career, and I'm like, holy fuck, they made the tournament 4 years in a row. Like if you told people right now they would make the tournament 4 years in a row, they'd be like, what? And then people now are like, they're fucking terrible. They've never achieved. Like, no, they were good. They made the tournament 4 years in a row. Now they didn't win a game, but they
did 1 year. I mean, they were 30 seconds away from the Elite Eight.
You're right. I did.
The Oregon game. If that game was 30 seconds more, we beat him.
Different. Hawkins was in the tournament all 4 years.
Oh, okay.
Because he played 2 with Kruger, 2 with Rice.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Terry was in the Sweet 16 year.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think
But how
Curtis
great
made it
that
set up
year was
for you.
amazing.
Yep. Yeah.
Because I was one who they're never going to get to that level again, and then they're all of a sudden they're in the Sweet 16, and I'm seriously, another 30 seconds they'd have beaten Oregon. Oregon was on fumes at the end of that game, and the Rebels were really pushed them, and we just ran out of time. But that was fantastic, and the
And
town was nuts.
I will say this about Dave Rice, to his defense. Dave Rice at his age, at that point, he just wasn't. He's not you. You guys know him. I mean, Dave, you remember when he was a player, Steve.
Yeah.
You know him as coach. That's not his personality, anyway. Is to go out there. He would feel almost like that he was trying to blow up his ego to be out there and do things, and he'd feel like he was making it about him. So I somewhat. I mean, I think if he had longevity somewhere, he would eventually be that guy. But I don't think that I don't think he had it in him from a PR standpoint to do what Ron did, just because that's just his nature.
Well, let's call it straight. Dave's just not a great head coach.
He's a fantastic assistant.
Good assistant, really good assistant. Yep.
Yeah.
Man, Marcus is right. They were Sweet 16, and they went to they lost in St. Louis to Oregon. 08 was the first round win, and then Farouk Manesh beat them.
Yep.
And then Farouk Manesh went on to beat Kansas with the same sort of outside shooting. And then Rice came in, and he won 26 and 25 games. And they lost to I think it was Colorado and California in the first round. And you know what? That's a great point by who Rick was saying. Like, people used to call in to Dave and I and be all pissed off about the seeding. Now you're like, holy shit! Can they just make the tournament?
Yeah, really?
6, 7, 8, 5. What? Who cares? 11. Just get in.
Well,
So
I mean,
weird.
we'd do the post season show from the Thomas and Mack, and it's like, okay, let's see who we're playing. And there's huge crowd of people there, and it was really fun. We'd broadcast for 2-3 hours. Everybody would come on, and let's find out who we're playing. Those days are done.
So you guys were asking about Desiree. It's interesting because I've talked to her. I had a really good conversation off the record, but I think it's long enough now. It doesn't matter. And it wasn't anything, that's bad. One of the Hawaii trips that I was on, I think with football. No, it was probably the basketball. I don't know what it was. Whatever. I actually said to her, I was like, you're really the coaches getting out there, and this was before this generation of coaches. The coaches getting out there, I think is really important. They're not out there enough. And I also said, your availability is gigantic as well. There needs to be faces of the program. And she was nice about it. She's like, no, that's really not what I want to be doing. The coaches are there to be out front. And now, Willie, you think about it when the AD says that and she wants the coaches to be out front, and you're like, wait, what just happened this year in football? It's weird, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's I don't know how much she tells us she actually enforces, with I don't know how much she's ever done that, because we realistically haven't seen. I mean, Tony was fantastic. I mean, he was always accessible to me, and I'd hear him on all the shows. But I mean, as far as this guy, it's polar opposite.
Yeah.
Of that statement that she
I
made.
think, he either, I don't know, he got the impression that it was going to be tough here, or that the media was tough here, or someone told him, because I think he's got the wrong impression of the majority of media here.
But
I guarantee he's got the wrong impression, because most of the media here wants to see you. We want to see UNLV win. It's good for the community.
I jumped on. They had a conference call. They had a real quiet, late signing day. It was like 3 guys. They added a 4th, but like, I'm fired up. Like, and I want to follow some stories. So you got Justice Oluwashun, who's in the transfer portal. You had other guys walk away. Jerron Caldwell, he's kind of beat up. Brayton said, I'm done. Like, we need, the offensive line is going to need some retooling. So I'm thinking, like, fuck, man, he must have some studs behind the scenes who are ready to go. Some freshmen who are coming in, because true freshmen played last year with the center, Fontenot, and then Tiger Shanks got in. A guy's like 6'5", 365. Like, okay, you know what? The O-line last year, they didn't play that well. I don't know what happened. They just didn't have a good year. So I asked him about it. I think this is a decent answer, but like, as he was answering it, I was almost like he's holding back. He's like trying to provide some mystery. Like, what the fuck, man? I'm just asking about the offensive line. Like, we're fired up to hear about who the new personnel is. Give us something on them. Here, let me load this up.
And you're not playing Reno next week. You're not revealing.
Oh, no. There's nothing. We don't have any secrets. Here, let me play this for you.
Example, Tiger Shanks was a true freshman that stepped in late there, Steve, in the season and in a true freshman year without a spring ball and no winter training, who we're really excited about. Brandon Logan is a junior college guy who's here in spring early. We hope can be an early contributor. He's got a full-fledged of years in front of him, so he's not just a one and done, which is nice. You look at the two deep, and there's not, the thing about it is, Steve, there are a lot of young guys. I mean, Alani there as a freshman, as a big-time guard. We're working through his body type and being able to do what he can do. Leaf is a redshirt freshman coming back. I know he's not new, but the reality of it is a guy that now has had basically a spring season to kind of warm up and get going. That's exciting to have him as a freshman. You got guys with Clayton Bradley was another 5th-year guy on 1 year, decided he was going to come back as well.
By the way, I was surprised by that. He's a USC transfer that he's going to come back for like a 6 year. So that says a lot about their confidence in him while Justice is on his way out. There's about 30 seconds left.
That's really nice for us to get another year in him and get him healthy, fully healthy. I think that's the one thing at O-line, Steve, is the fact that we may get some continuity and some healthiness. We're not out of the woods. We know that. The protocols are all still the same. But I think as we get closer to spring ball, closer into summer and then fall camp, just the ability for continuity for those 5 guys to be together and gel. And I think, adding guys to the mix like Brandon, moving Tiger, getting Tiger more reps, having Gemini and the Alanis come in and having the opportunity to put themselves in position. Marcus Miller is another true freshman last year who we kept kind of on the side as he went through COVID. I think that's exciting.
So there you go.
And look, I'm not, but believe me, I'm not crushing him, because you talk about, it might have been the toughest job in the country from the standpoint that he didn't get any spring, got no spring ball, new coach, new system, no spring ball, and a terrible team. That's good luck trying to win with that. Like I said, I wish they'd just won one game, would be nice, but we'll get a better idea this year, hopefully.
I think Willie and I would disagree. I don't think it was a terrible team he was getting, but we can debate this all day long. So,
well, I do, because I had him bottom 10 in my power ratings going into the season. So my college numbers are really good. So
he may have been inheriting overall as a unit a bad team when you're comparing it nationally, but he was not getting the inefficient offense or defense that we saw. That's not the team. That's not the efficiency that he inherited that we saw.
How much of that? See, this was, to me, new coaches who didn't get any spring practice were at a huge disadvantage, and they had none, 0 spring practices.
Did you like the job that Todd Graham did?
I thought he did okay. I don't think he'll produce like Rolovich did at Hawaii. I just don't put him in that category, but he'll be all right. But he inherited. Rolovich didn't exactly leave him a bare cupboard. Rolovich got some good talent in there, and especially did well in keeping some of those local kids. And there's some really good high school football in Hawaii. He got the locals to stay on the island. Now, whether Graham's going to be able to do that, I don't know. I have a feeling, just my opinion, I have a feeling that some of the better island talent in high school is going to end up in Pullman, Washington.
Yeah, but I think Graham will be able to recruit. I think he'll have Hawaii around bowl, contention every year. So interesting. Well, we'll see what happens going forward.
I'm hoping for the best. I think I think we'll find out more this year.
I'm hoping Marcus realizes it's not a big number right now, but there is a group of fans who are fired up. They want to hear about football. They want to root for the team. They want to go out to the games. And if they are winning a little bit, we know UNLV sports will draw if they're winning. You just have to get them to that level. But I hope while he's building, he's more informative and more open about what they've got, because people are looking for any morsel of hope. And if you talk about the players a little bit, people get into it. So,
and if you hear from them, that was the other thing, is they were never made available.
Yeah,
they dictated to it. How many? I didn't go on a lot. Unless I had an assignment, really.
You just stopped.
Yeah, how many? I mean, who other than Chuck Wagon, whatever?
We got
Who
We
else
got
did you get?
yeah, we got Chuck, and we got basically like 2 different defensive players the entire year.
They were forbidden to talk. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, I don't think one of the quarterbacks was available the entire year, which is bizarro to me. So, and again, the media here is not going. They're not looking to slash and crush you, and like we want to cover the stories, want to deliver stories. So,
The negative stories or the stories that are going to carry a negative connotation are going to happen whether you talk or not, whether you will let players, because it's basically just going to be on performance and decisions. Other than that, nobody's going to attack you personally. But so you should be a little more open, a little more cordial. We've had this conversation.
we've done it. We've done it.
Yeah.
I have UNLV as my 8th worst team in the country as of now.
Hmm.
I'm updating my power ratings, and I've got them 8. They're ahead of one team in the Mountain West. I have them ahead of New Mexico.
We'll see. Hopefully, these 2 recruiting classes have some guys who are ready to play right away, especially on defense, because they need a lot of help on, I think, interior defensive line, and that the linebacking core needs an infusion of athletes. So they've brought a bunch of defensive ends / linebackers in. So, and they're big guys too. They're legit size now. So we'll see what happens. Last one, real quick, and we'll wrap it up in like 5 minutes. Dave, what do you think of the move by Urban Meyer to bring in Chris Doyle? The guy was fired by Iowa, well documented from 10 plus players. The guy was an asshole. He's making stupid racial comments, making the black players feel uncomfortable. Ferentz had his back. By the way, the other thing that has not been mentioned a whole lot, Doyle was also part of one of those old school. And this floats Willie's boat. He got in trouble in 2013. Like he drove fucking players into the ground where like 13 of them had to be hospitalized and got seriously ill because of his methods. And that one was kind of swept under the carpet. Ferentz back then, when Doyle got in trouble, Ferentz named him an assistant coach of the year. They didn't even have the award existing before that, so he did it on purpose. So all of that on this guy's resume, and then Urban Meyer's like, "Yeah, I'm going to bring him to the NFL," and no one's going to say anything. Like, what?
We'll see what happens with.
And by the way, Doyle's gone. He resigned tonight. Everyone flipped out the last day or so. Doyle resigned. He's out after a day. Come on, Urban.
What happened? We'll see what happens with Joe Cullen.
Yep, he's another one, right? What's his background?
Well, he apparently was charged with driving drunk naked through a Wendy's drive-through.
Yep. This is amazing. It really is.
Hey, if you're gonna get arrested for something, it may as well be something. I mean, really, driving naked through a Wendy's drive-through.
What was his excuse? Do you remember?
What excuse? He was hammered. I don't remember what his excuse was.
He said at the time, "Well, it's simple. It's called a blackout. When you have a blackout, bang, you realize being educated about alcohol abuse, that you drink too much. I'm sure there's a lot of incidents out there.
How drunk do you have to get?
People don't remember a thing they did the night before they were drinking. That's basically what happened. At least he's no nonsense about it. He's like, I blacked out. I was an alcoholic. Come on."
Oh, that's man. You got to do some serious drinking to get to that.
Yeah, you got to be fucked up to not only leave your house and get in the car, but get in that motherfucker butt naked. I mean,
that was Taco Bell.
Aaron Saul, good. You can't get through a Wendy's drive-through naked. Come on, man. I thought this was America. That's awesome. Yeah, this not a good early sign, guys, for Urban Meyer and his transition to the NFL. Not at all.
Well, he's got Trevor Lawrence coming in, so it's going to get better. I actually watched his pro day this morning. Well, he's a good-looking player.
I know, Dave. I'm well aware. I know. As a Jets fan, Dave, I'm well aware.
That's a very
How many quarterbacks are gonna change uniforms? This is gonna be musical chairs. You got Watson wants out. Wilson sounds like he wants out. Rodgers, we'll have to wait and see. Stafford is out. Goff has moved. Tua might be out of Miami if they can work a deal. Tua would be involved in it. Donald, who knows? Chicago, I'm not sure what they're going to do, whether they're going to go after Wentz or not. That seems to me. It's going to be Chrissy. Hey, this is going to be fun over the next couple of months to see where these quarterbacks get lined up.
my final column in the final print edition of Gaming Today was on are the Rams going to be, our next year's Rams going to be this year's Bucks in terms of, with Stafford coming in, and I ran a bunch of analytics based on where there was deficiency with the Rams under Goff, and the Lions, as shitty as they were higher in efficiency. So the transition and the Super Bowl, obviously at SoFi, so it would be that would be just a wild story. And it wouldn't be out of the, it would be so crazy, but not out of the order. It'd be one of those crazy stories like this year. You know what I mean? Stafford comes in, Rams make a run, the defense is in place, and they're the home team. So, but that was my final column for the final print edition of Gaming Today. Brady, what's my February theme?
The final.
I'm down to a
It's
couple
not
of
going to be.
themes.
It's done. The print edition is done.
Done. It's been bought out.
Oh wow.
It's now going to be online by some sports betting media company, and I think they do a lot of offshore book sites, and they're going to keep the theme, and they asked several people to stay on, but the writing is going to be different. It's not going to be the theme and the tone they're going to be different. They're doing a lot of betting 101 columns.
Oh no.
Which I told Steve the other night, Steve Carp at the
Don't do betting 101 columns. Nobody.
yeah,
nobody reads
none
those.
of us are with them anymore. They were bought out, so none of us, Steve Carp, myself, a lot of the columnists, they offered some of the younger guys, they offered a lot of people actually cents per word pay, but I told them, I said, yeah, that's
Well, we'll
I'm
see what they do.
beyond
We'll
that,
see if
so.
they're knowledgeable as far as SEO is concerned. Because if you don't know the SEO ball game,
yeah.
that's what it's all about.
Well, I think they
I
do.
don't know it that well, but the
The
people
parent
that
company. The
people
parent
I'm
company that bought it. Yeah.
the people I'm associated with at Wager Talk are experts as far
Yeah.
as SEO is concerned, and I know Wade at Docs is an absolute expert as far as that stuff goes, and that's that. If you're not, let's put it this way: one of my former colleagues on ProLine is not an expert as far as SEO is concerned, and his website's a disaster. It's just a disaster. You've got to hire someone who knows their way around that, and I don't. Which is part of the reason I signed with Wager Talk. Is shit, I don't know the first thing about it.
Yeah, it takes.
But that's the ball game. That's the ball game now.
Yeah, and every time you load a post, there is an extra 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps in going in the back door and hitting that SEO page, and then you're typing in meta phrases and you're typing in specific descriptions. If you do a Google search and you Google search a certain X amount of names and these stories come up, those little paragraphs that describe the stories, catch phrases within there and
Right.
so on and so forth, because I'm doing that on 2 different sites right now. But yeah, and I think this parent company that bought it is well aware because they run a ton of sports betting. But I for them, their issue is going to be the content. The quality of content for what Gaming Today followers and subscribers have become used to, that's falling off major.
Well,
There-
all I know
there-
is one thing: they better be setting up their people with cameras, equipment like I've got here, cool backgrounds maybe, and do a shitload of videos because people don't read; they watch.
Yeah.
People don't read; they watch. I know when I do a free play video on Twitter, you wouldn't believe how many people view that thing every day, and that's how you build visibility. If they're not, I mean, I'm not telling them how to do their business. I assume they know, but they got to get people who are comfortable in front of a camera and with a microphone on. Otherwise, they are cooked because nobody reads anything anymore.
It is sad though, looking back at Vegas history, and I haven't been here as long as you guys have, but I worked in sports books, and I just, and obviously have played and hung in sports books. People loved Gaming Today. They fucking
it's
Love it.
everybody grabbed Gaming Today.
Yeah.
Everybody. I mean, it was like,
Sports,
good.
from Sports Forum to Gaming Today, the Page 3 girl back in the days.
Yep.
There was
Restaurant reviews.
restaurant
All
reviews,
kinds
show
of good
reviews.
stuff. Oh yeah. I mean, that was everybody who lived here read that paper. I mean, you'd have you'd have the stand, and they
Yep.
piled up, and it was amazing how fast they'd go.
Dave, well, I was just going to say that, like working at a book, I'd have people at whatever day it came out, like Tuesday or something. I'd have people come up to the counter and they'd be like, well, where's gaming today? When's it coming? As soon as it fucking came, it was like a rush. And then by whatever a day later, everyone's like, where is it? And I'm like, there's no more. Oh, God damn it. Where I'm like, you have to be here on this day, otherwise they are gone. That's it.
It reminded me of where I grew up. If you didn't get to the store, if you wanted to bet the horses and you didn't get to the store at like 6 a.m. when daily racing form arrived, you weren't going to get your daily racing form because those things went real fast.
No shot, huh? All right, guys, another good one, Willie. I appreciate you pitching in last minute. Thank you.
Absolutely.
What are you guys doing this weekend?
I am going to watch a whole bunch of sports, mostly hockey, some college basketball, and I'll probably watch some of the Australian Open, which I enjoy watching. I don't know anything about tennis, but it's nice to occasionally watch a sport you don't know anything about so you can just sit back and watch it and enjoy it. I'm sorry the local guy, whatever his name was, got eliminated because he's a real piece of work. And the crowd was going nuts for him. I forget. Dave, who you got for Daytona? I don't know. I'll be rooting for Denny Hamlin to win. He's my favorite driver. So I'll probably throw a few bucks on him just to have a rooting interest.
Willie, what are you covering?
I'll be keeping my eye on the Golden Knights up in San Jose. I'll be at the Avalanche game on Sunday. In and around that, I will watch some college hoops, obviously, tomorrow. And I'm definitely going to be in and out of the Perfect Gym because there's a show on TLC, something Fiancés. I can't think of what the hell the name is. One of those networks. It's a fiance show. It's like a reality show. They reached out to Jordan on our Google business page and asked if they could use this as a filming location. So that's kind of cool.
Really?
Yeah. Right. So Tuesday we got some TV show coming in and doing a bunch of filming. 90 Day Fiance. That's it.
Ah, it's my girlfriend's favorite show.
Really?
Oh,
fucking loves it.
She's going to see the Perfect Gym.
There you go.
What's it about?
It's a nightmare. It's basically dudes or women here hooking up with someone internationally, and when they come over to the U.S. or they go there, they've got 90 days to work it out and get married, or it doesn't happen.
Well, it sounds more interesting than that show with people who weigh 600 pounds. That might be. I mean, how?
You know what, Brady? I actually do not like 90 Day Fiance. It drives me fucking nuts. So
I've never seen it.
Let me add one thing. I will tell you one thing I'm hooked on. Like when you and Adam started talking about the TikTok, getting hooked on TikToks a few months ago when it first started going crazy. I am completely hooked on Instagram Reels, which is the equivalent to TikToks, of watching chiropractors give people alignments. I've now become addicted to watching them. Like people watch pimple poppers or whatever. I watch these chiropractors cracking necks.
Who watches what?
There's a reality show on MTV about it's a Dr. Pimple Popper.
Yeah, I can't. That's just nasty. But for some reason,
you wonder why. I mean, you wonder why we can't control this virus in this country. Who the fuck would watch a show about somebody getting pimples popped? What the fuck? You got to be kidding me! I'm serious. I didn't know there was such a thing.
Adam,
that is truly disgusting.
Adam and Stormy have bonded over Dr. Pimple Popper.
Adam and I.
I don't know about it, Adam, and I'm glad I don't.
Adam and I follow each other on Instagram. He'll see my story tonight because I saw a couple of them, and they got the neck, and it just and the noise, and for some reason I'm all in. I watch the chiropractor once a month.
If I want a diversion, I'll watch the Too Cute show on Animal Planet where they've got the puppies. That's a nice show. I like that. Occasionally they'll occasionally have kittens, and they're just too cute.
Okay, I don't know. You want me to close on?
Beats the shit out of watching pimples get popped. I can tell you that.
I went to Roma Deli today. Had some old school Italian. How about that? I went there. Good old school place there. So how about that? Look at Adam. Who's laying that? Look at Adam's comment. Who's laying that money?
Adam, you lose that bet. I mean, there's zero possibility that. No, I'm going to watch Bill Maher, and then I'm going to go to sleep.
Exciting times. All right. We'll see you guys. Thanks. That was awesome. Thanks, audience. We're back on Monday with our normal fun and frivolity with Smarter Than You.